is the acting Chief Director, Asset Management. Ms. Nadia Ringquist, she's the Director, Local Government Budget Office. And then we have Ms. Nashreen Lodewijk. She is the Management Accountant in the Office of the CFO and keeping us all on our toes. We also have Mr. Paul Pinar online. He is the Director, Business Information and Data Management. I think I have covered. I saw Stephen here. How come I've missed? Okay. Then I do have Ms. Shirley Robinson. She is the Chief Director, Fiscal Public Policy Services. And we have Mr. Stephen Kenyon also. He is the Chief Director, Public Finance, Local Government. We have Mr. Tobelani Ntingila. He's the Director, Local Government Public Finance. And I think I have now gone through the list, Chair.
Thank you very much, HOD.
And Michelle Nicholas, sorry. Michelle Nicholas, she's the Director, Public Finance, Provincial Government. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, HOD, and a warm welcome again to all the officials. Thank you for joining us today. I would just like to take an opportunity to see if there are any members of the public who've joined us. All right, I see none. So with that, I have received no apologies for the record, and I would just like to indicate the rules of engagement for today. So as per usual, I kindly ask that you keep yourselves muted unless called upon to speak, and keep your videos off as well unless called upon to speak or presenting. This will just ensure that we have as smooth sailing a meeting as possible. All presenters will share their own presentations and unshare their presentations once they've concluded their briefing. So with that, I will hand over for introductory remarks to Provincial Treasury. Hereby, the Minister is given the opportunity to conduct introductory remarks, and then from there, the Acting HOD can also make some remarks, and members can ask some general questions thereafter on those remarks. Thank you. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll be very brief, given the time. Just in main, the summary, the Vote 3 Provincial Treasury had a main budget of 340.7 million rand. This is now being adjusted through this bill downwards by 24.3 million rand, which will then mean that Vote 3 ends up with a total budget of 316.43 million rand. The reductions are as a result of fiscal consolidation, cuts, cost of employment, and then we have a few transfers and a few internal shifts, which we're happy to go through with the committee and answer any of the questions on that more specifically. So let me end it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Minister, HOD, any remarks from your side?
Thank you, Chair. Given the background in terms of fiscal consolidation, maybe just to indicate to the committee that we are still having to play a crucial role in setting the tone for good governance. And so when we approached this entire exercise of looking at fiscal consolidation, we needed to be strategic in what we then have to scale down on in terms of trying to get within the revised fiscal framework. And for us, the key areas that we needed to protect was in terms of our people, because that is how we deliver our services. And then we also looked at how then do we support that through ICT and innovation to continue to deliver on our mandate. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, HOD. All right, so with that, members, you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions with regards to the introductory remarks. Can I please get an indication of any hands with regards to only the introductory remarks? All right, I see no hands. So with that, we'll move on to the consideration of vote 3 for Provincial Treasury. Members, I put to you vote 3, Provincial Treasury's pages 37 to 52. I note that previously committees have gone through this page by page, but I feel that it's more constructive for us to go through this in total. So if I can please get an indication of whether there are any questions for the vote.
Can I get a clarity question first, Chair, on process?
Okay, Member Nkondlo, we will allow you to go first, then Member van der Westhuizen.
Chair, I wanted to ask a process question before I get to my questions. Given that you're saying you feel that you want to change to do the total vote, can I request the restrictions, if any, on the number of questions we should ask? Because doing questions by page allows us to satisfy ourselves in each page. But if you take a different approach, which is fine, but I'm trying to understand what restrictions in terms of number of questions.
On a point of order, Chair.
Okay, I'll just address your question and then I'll go to Member Seleko. We can do questions in rounds of 3, Member. Over to you, Member Seleko.
No, my apologies, Chair, and to Honorable Nkondlo. We seem to be not hearing her. You know, she's very faint. We can't hear her. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, noted. Yes, Member Nkondlo, it is a bit soft on your side, so perhaps if you could move a bit closer to your mic. All right, Member Nkondlo, I just wanted to check, did you have any further questions related to the vote?
Yes, Chair, can you just allow me first to just deal with my mic because I'm using a headset. So if I can do that, I'll come back now.
No problem. I think I saw Member van der Westhuizen's hand go up.
Indeed, thank you, Chair. Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, a number of questions, but I'll restrict myself to 3 questions for the first round. The first one is in terms of what you call fiscal consolidation. Surely, you know, there's a lot of detail under such a broad term, and I was wondering whether you would be able to expand, whether the department would be able to expand on some of the measures that they've taken. One of the other terms that have been repeated quite often in this budget vote document is the revised recruitment plan. Does that mean that certain positions are being kept open for longer, deliberately, positions being vacant? Or what do you mean by the revised recruitment plan? Because I would always like to believe that, you know, every single worker is essential, that every position on the organogram is important. And then if we keep positions open, then I start doubting whether that position is essential and whether we couldn't, you know, delete that position from an organogram. So please, if we could get some clarity on what is this revised recruitment plan. Then also on page 38 in the what is generally known as the blue book, I see there's a relatively small amount household, but the adjustment in households from 1.5 million to 3.99 million seems to be quite a significant adjustment. Perhaps you could just explain to us what is meant by households and why was this increased need not foreseen. And then lastly, Chair, on page 39 at the bottom, payment for financial assets, and there it says provision for theft and losses. I must say this is something which I have not in the past experienced, and perhaps we can just be informed whether this is a provision or whether this is, you know, money that now needs to be spent to replace, for example, equipment or you know, things such as that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Member. Member Nkondlo, I'm going to come back to you now.
Yes, Chair. Am I audible now?
I think it is better.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Still not good, Chair. On a point of order, I think she needs the assistance of ICT to adjust the mic.
Is it?
We can't hear, Chair, honestly. We don't want to miss the input from Member Nkondlo. Honestly, now we can't hear her.
Let me change my device, Chair. I think that would work.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Members, just to note, Ms. Adams has also asked Suraj to assist Member Nkondlo. Members, are there any further questions? I see Member Seleku.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Mine is just one, Chair. I'm just looking at the expenditure trends on page 45. And I just wanted to get an understanding from the department, are we at risk of, because I see majority of the expenditure, it's less than 50% as we stand. And I just wanted to know whether there is a risk for us not being able to spend to spend to the maximum. Yeah, and if there is such a risk, and how are they going to mitigate that particular risk? Thank you very much, Chair.
All right, thank you. What I'm going to do in the meantime, members, is I'm going to hand over to the Minister and Department to answer those questions, and then we'll come back for the next round.
Can I try now, Chair, on my different device?
I think that's much better.
Okay.
Okay, please
Let
proceed.
me try. Thank you, Chair. I think I wanted to ask, Chair, from page, I think page 39, on the details of the adjustments provided until page, I think, 41. My question there is that in light of this reallocation of funding due to revised recruitment, if more detail following from what Member Andrikast asked, what does that mean, reallocation? What is this revised recruitment plan? And is it correct? Because when one calculated, I think there are almost 9 sub-programs that would have shifted or lost their funds to them as part of these environments, which when I calculate all of them, they amount to 6,048,000, if I'm correct. But my question here is that I'm not sure if it's me or my incorrect mathematics, because when I look at this versus what is in page 49 in terms of economic classification of the environments, the total that I'm getting there of the 4 programs would have had environments due to COE, I think ends up to 3.2 or totals to 3.2 million. If the department can just explain to me, unless I'm doing my calculations incorrectly, because I'm assuming what is in the detail is actually the totals that are in page 49 in the economic classification, because all of these would be the amounts of COE that would have been reallocated for the reasons provided in the detail. And then the second one, Chair, is that on page 42, I see on the other adjustments that are mentioned there, is that I would be interested to understand that the reduction due to fiscal consolidation, which one sees in program 1, it's 6.6 million. In program 2, it's 7.8, and in program 3, it's 6.9. But different to the others, where there is an explanation that is provided, can the department just give us more detail of what would be that reduction? What exactly in the program 1, what would have been what would have been the programs that would have this money would have received from. So I'm interested just to know that in terms of the fiscal consolidation, where there is no detail versus the others. The last one is that 1,071,000 is said to be reduced from the transfers and subsidies in relation to Western Cape Financial Management Capacity Grant. So I'm interested to understand which particular municipality, if any, this 1.71 million would have been taken from, and for what purpose and why. So those are my 3 questions for now. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member. And before I hand to the department, I would just like to stress the following observation from my side, that essentially, despite the big budget cuts that PT have had to face, they put in strong systems and controls in place. And ultimately, I would just like to recognize PT in terms of the stabilizing force that they have been and will be throughout the next few years. This is particularly seen in that they have implemented sound financial management, ensuring that the Western Cape government can keep delivering services despite national government's financial woes. So I would just like to offer that commendation before handing over to the Minister. But over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, to you and to the members for the questions. In terms of fiscal consolidation, I think what we'll do is give the committee a breakdown by program on, what is being affected by fiscal consolidation. You'll also see through the budget and through the explanations that the Treasury has made a concerted effort to find savings in many different ways. So, for example, we've reviewed the use of government vehicles to make that as efficient as possible. And so we're reducing the number of vehicles there, also reducing printing, etc. So we're really going to look, in every nook and cranny to see how we can find efficiencies within the system that will then be used as to kind of help with the fiscal consolidation that is faced by the department. On the revised recruitment plan, we're only filling critical posts. So there's been a definite slowdown in recruitment to try and manage the wage liability. And as the committee is aware, with the no funding received for the wage increases on the cost of living adjustments, so we've had to look at our recruitment strategy, but I'll ask the HOT just to fill in a little bit more there. And then if I could ask Treasury just to expand on the households and thefts and losses, and then on our expenditure trends. Thank you, Honourable Sileku. So last year, the Treasury had a very minor and expenditure with, I think it was less than 1%. So the department does work very hard to make sure that all the funds allocated are spent where they ought to be spent. We do note your comment. So most of the programs are sort of between 45 and 52% expenditure at the moment, but that is something that I do monitor monthly and that we do take cognizance of. Then HOT, there's also just the question from Honourable Nkondlo on the difference between the amounts on the revised fiscal strategy versus the economic classification on COE. And then I think that covers all our questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to check. Okay, there we go.
Just check. Through you, Chair. Minister, I missed some of the things. Can I go ahead, or
yes, please?
Were you handing back to the Chair? I'm not sure.
Handing back to you.
Okay.
Go through the remaining questions, please.
Questions. Okay. No, thank you. It's just that the connection is a bit tricky. So maybe just to take a step back and to try and assist Member van der Westhuizen in terms of fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation is applied to our provincial equitable share. So as a provincial treasury, we are funded through the provincial equitable share. And so we had to respond to the reduced fiscal envelope. So consolidation, it does require us to reduce our fiscal framework, and therefore what is then available through the provincial equitable share for allocation. Then the second point that I just want to make is, although we are funded through PES, the other part of it is that we did not get any funding for the improvement in conditions of service from national, because that funding only partially covered health and education. And that then resulted in the provincial treasury having to find money within the baseline to cover the improvement in conditions of service for the existing staff. And that amounted to 12.7 million. So we had to find 12.7 million within our baseline to respond to that liability. And then needing to do that, I think maybe just to indicate also to the committee the things that we had to consider. In the introductory remarks, I did say we deliver our services through people. And so that is one of the critical areas that we needed to protect to a certain extent. But given the size of what we needed to cut back on, there were things that we had to look at that we needed to take into consideration in terms of our compensation budget. So I think the committee would also recall that the DPSA issued a directive just in terms of the process of how we should proceed with recruitment. And I need to indicate and emphasize that immediately when that happens, there is a unfortunate knock-on just in terms of the delay of processes, where it would come in terms of the pace of recruitment, because we were not sure what that process entails. And even with what the directive is indicating, is that there is a measure of centralization within at a provincial sphere in terms of the recruitment process. That in itself, once you are faced with this and there's a delay in here, there's savings that come on a monthly basis, because you are not necessarily appointing the person at a particular point in time. So with every day that you're not appointing, that results in savings. But how we then went about it, there's specific things that we looked at to remain within the COE upper limit. So we had to, unfortunately, reduce our critical post list. So we started out the year with 40. And we had to look at that, and we ended up really having to look at what is it that we ultimately cannot, which is non-negotiable, not live without. And that was then reduced to 16, and we had to find other ways in which to compensate for the fact that we will not fill all the positions that we would ordinarily would have done. And that in itself requires of existing staff to pick up a lot of those things that one would have used another employee to deal with. But for us, it was important that we continue to give effect to our mandate, both on a PFMA an MFMA, from an MFMA and PFMA perspective, and that we continue to play that stabilizing force within Western Cape government when it comes to governance and finances. So the other things that we looked at is we do run with a bursary program, for instance, and we in the past had these interns work back the entire duration for the time that the bursary was allocated. We needed to look at what do we do where in that instance, do we continue with that practice or do we reduce it? So we have made a decision that we limit that work back period now to 2 years, and not where if we have allocated a bursary, for instance, for 4 years, in the past, the person would have worked back that bursary for 4 years. Now we are saying we're keeping it to 2 years. We also run the Chartered Accountant Academy trainee programs, and we had to look at how many do we actually allow into the program that we can support, and we had to reduce that as well. And then we looked at really how then do we streamline the existing staff complement in order to still continue to deliver the service to the best of our ability, and to the best of what the province is known for, as not to bring on an additional burden, and to continue to support both municipalities and departments and entities alike. So that is just in terms of the background of what in general and in the background happened with the decisions around our COE budget and our compensation budget. Firstly, we had to fund the wage agreement, and then we also had to look at what are the decisions that we make in year and also over the MTF to ensure that we come within. There's a number of other decisions that we've taken around goods and services. Minister spoke to that, but I think the CFO will also be able to go into the detail for each program. And then there was a question on whether we are going to underspend. Yesterday, we also presented the second quarter outcome, and in there we were very clear. If we look at the projected outcome for the provincial treasury, we are saying we are going to spend the money that we have, and at this stage there is no indication of any underspending in terms of our budget. I'm going to ask the CFO to deal with some of the more technical and detailed questions. There was a question also in terms of the transfers to households, and also we do have, unfortunately for us, a number of employees that are close to retirement, and that is retiring, so that is also that comes into play here. And then what we have done with the capability, the grant to municipalities, we do have Mr. Stephen Kenyon also online, and he is going to expand just in terms of what the thinking was there with that grant, and how we are reconfiguring that, and how we are continuing to support those municipalities that we've identified in terms of our processes. So first to the CFO, Anne-Marie, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the questions. I will respond to the question on page 39 on the increase to households. As Jalinda has indicated, that it is for a leave gratuity as well as a pension penalty for early retirement. Maybe just to give you some details or background, unfortunately, when we do the budget, we don't know how many staff members will resign and what is the amount of the leave they still have left. So in total, until now, 29 staff members left the organisation, and we needed to pay their leave gratuity or the remainder of the leave. And I think, as previously indicated, it's not capped. Some of them have capped leave, but mostly it is just current leave, because the policy of the government changed a few years back to indicate that officials are not allowed to cap their leave, and we need to take all the leave within the calendar within the calendar year. So that is then the 29 payments of leave gratuities, and then also one of our officials are requested to go on early retirement. So that is then the amount for households. Just as I've indicated, we cannot, in the beginning of the financial year, budget for that. So that's on the household. The ones on assets, payments for financial assets, yes, it is for thefts and losses. Unfortunately, we had a few laptops that went missing and was stolen, and then also bad debt that was written off for government when we occur a loss. Unfortunately, we need to account for it, and we account for it on the payment of financial assets, and we also account for it on the cost to the company, so the original price, because government don't depreciate. So that's total amount of 110,000. So we written off 2 laptops, stolen laptops, and then also bad debt, as was bursary debt, and also misuse of government vehicle. There was also a hard drive that went missing, as well as then accident with a GG vehicle, and also the windscreen damage. So that came to a total of 110,000 rand. So that's on that question. The next question, I think the Minister has responded to the question on the 50% spent until, of less than 50% spent for the first 6 months. I can indicate with confidence that we will be able to spend the remaining amount in the next 6 months, because some of our projects, for example, this entire budget process, all the printing and the Mero consulting fees, Bureau consulting fees is all done in the latter part of the financial year. So yeah, so that we have planned it for that. We do a cash flow projection, and we just manage also to ensure that our cash flow is according to our actual expenditure or projected expenditure. Then the question on the shifts, maybe just go back to page 30. The member will see that on the compensation, we are shifting, that's from 2.489 million. So that is shifted from compensation to household. So that's the 2490 that I spoke to about on the leave gratuities. That was that we didn't plan for. So that's that amount. Then if member goes to pages 39, 40 and 41, if member just looks at all of the shifts in between the COE, member will see that it is needs to be 0. And then on the other shifts, the 8.7 million, if member goes to page 42, member will see that all the COE other shifts, so the funds that we received for the cost of living wage increase, and then the reduction on the compensation as a result to fiscal consolidation, that will then get a net effect of 8.7 million. And then I just remember, I think on page 49, it is only per program 1. So the 3922, I think that is only for, no, in total for compensation, it's the 3095 other shifts is only for program 1. So I think that is on that. And remember, if you want me to go through the fiscal consolidation or the adjustments per program, as I've indicated on, so that's on page 42, the 3.5 million on program 1 is for the compensation of employees, and that is the condition increase in the conditions of service, so the 23 wage agreement. And then we also indicate that is the reduction on COE due to fiscal consolidation. And I think the acting HOD spoke about how we got to that amount by really re-looking at our critical post list, also re-looking at the bursary obligators, the reduction in the number of years, of maximum years of 2 years work back period. So we did that. And then also, I think the Minister has spoken about the reduction in the payment for capital assets. Originally, we had we've been allocated 21 vehicles to the Provincial Treasury for official travel, and we've also a new strategy is also to have more online meetings, Teams meetings. So when we did the analysis, some of the vehicles were not utilised fully, and therefore we returned to the government garage 6 vehicles, and that was also part of our fiscal consolidation. I think going on to program 2, the same, the 4.7 million was for the increase in conditions of service, the wage agreement, and then also the fiscal consolidation, the revised recruitment plan, just looking at our critical post. And then the municipal training, we really looked at the training to municipalities, which training we needed to continue with, which training we could reduce, and also the utilization, which training we can do in-house. So we're not saying that we're not going to do the training. We're saying the training, we're going to do the training in-house, or we're going to use another service provider for the training. Then also looking at the next one is on reduction in the copies of publications. We really looked at, is it necessary to print, for example, a specific number of budget documents, annual reports, and so on. And then we came up on the saving of about 48,000 Rand on that. Then on the reduction on the capacity to support infrastructure, the 2.295 million, we are in the process of getting additional capacity via a bid process for infrastructure. The process is a little bit delayed, and therefore we are we're reducing that amount in the current financial year, but just to add that it's not reduced in the after financial years, because infrastructure is one of our priorities. So that's on that. And then I think we spoke about the 1 million on reduction in the financial management capability grant, but I think Stephen can also give a little bit more detail on that, and also responding to the question that the honourable member asked, what is they've got a strategy on transfers to the municipalities. Then reduction in the transfers to the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. The board had increased revenue, and because the department need to fund the deficit, because they increased the revenue, we were able to reduce the grant to the gambling board, and also to reassign that some of the funding that we're reducing for gambling research. So that's that. And then on program 3, you've indicated that they've got the received the 4.4 million. You will see that program 4 did not have reduction on the COE due to fiscal consolidation, because they had a very, very low vacancy rate. and therefore there were no savings on their current budget for that. And then the 850,000 rand. Oh, sorry. I'm going to program 3. Program 3. They've got 4.4 to the cost of living, 6.9 million for the compensation, revised recruitment plan due to fiscal consolidation, then 850,000 rand due to the customer relationship management tool. I also just want to indicate that it's a project that we still want to continue with, but they have indicated that they are looking at the readiness and the complexity, and that needed further refinement, and therefore comprehensive planning is necessary to ensure successful implementation of the project, and therefore they decided they would rewrite to reprioritize the project during the MTEF process. And then the last one is the reduction, the 2 million reduction on information and communication technology. It's an evergreening legacy systems initiative. And the team also looked at the platform that they wanted to do the e-leave project, and they've also indicated that they had to re-evaluate its approach and timeline for the e-leave pilot project, also linked to what is happening at a national level, so that we didn't want to continue with the e-leave on the Oracle platform before we have not looked at other options and also what National Treasury is planning. I think so. That is in short, just I think all of the questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. We
Please
still have
proceed,
one
H.
more. Yes, we still have one more. I'm going to ask Stephen just to elaborate a little bit in terms of the transfers to municipalities. Stephen?
Thanks very much, HOD. Good morning, Chair and honourable members. Just to explain what we're doing in the conditional grants and try and sort of answer both questions, I think it's helpful to maybe start from the big picture and then get into the detail of where that just over R1 million in savings comes from that the honourable member asked about. So in the big picture, the Provincial Treasury has 2 conditional grant transfers to municipalities. And what we are doing in this adjustments budget, remember that in the main budget, we'd already allocated funds to most municipalities through the municipal capability grant, financial management capability grant, I should say, to give it its full name. We'd already allocated in the March budget. However, there was an unallocated amount that remains. So the headline from this adjustments budget is that we are allocating funds for the bursary portion of that grant to 24 municipalities. So that's 4 million rands for the extension of ongoing bursary costs to support students already awarded bursaries in terms of that program. And then the other grant that we manage is the Municipal Financial Recovery Services grant. And in that grant, we've increased the amount of money that's available for that grant to 5 million and allocated it to 5 municipalities so that they can do pilot projects on smart metering. And we've chosen these 5 municipalities because they are the 5 with unfunded budgets in the province. So revenue management is important to them, obviously, but in particular, 4 of them are municipalities that have qualified to form part of the Municipal Debt Relief Programme, the write-off of Eskom debt over a period of 3 years that the National Minister of Finance announced in the February national budget. And that Municipal Debt Relief Programme has extensive conditions which municipalities must comply with, including demonstrating how over those 3 years they're moving towards applying smart meters and installing more smart meters as part of improving their revenue collection from residents on both water and electricity. So this is the way the Provincial Treasury has found to give a contribution to those municipalities to pilot so that they can see what the impact is of installing those smart meters in a targeted number of households within obviously what we can afford to support as well. So in the big picture, at the time of before the adjustments budget, the Provincial Treasury had an envelope for transfers to municipalities of 17.8 million rands, of which 7.8 million was still unallocated. After the adjustments budget, we've actually increased the total amount that we're transferring to municipalities to 18.4 million. And we have no more unallocated money. All of the funds for transfers to municipalities are now fully transferred. Within the detail of the grants, there are a few small changes. So within the capability grant, there was, at the time of the main budget in February, there was an unallocated amount of 5.8 million. After the budget had been tabled, one of our municipalities, Saldanha Bay, where we'd been funding a project on long-term financial planning, they were lucky enough to be awarded a grant for the same project by the Development Bank of Southern Africa, a slightly larger grant amount. They volunteered that they did not want to be double funded for the same project. So they asked if we could rather not transfer that amount to them. So there is technically a reduction of 500,000 to Saldanha Bay municipality. But as I say, that project is fully funded from another source. So there was a reduction. The member asked about reductions to individual municipalities. That's the only reduction to an individual municipality, and a bit of an unusual situation there. So that left us with 6.3 million rands unallocated when we went into the adjustments budget process. Through the adjustments budget, we allocate 4 million for bursaries, as I explained. We also took from the capability grant, we took 1.2 million across to that financial recovery services grant. So we shifted from the one grant to the other. We added additional money from savings elsewhere in the department to further bolster that grant. And then at the end of the day, what was left in the capability grant was just over 1 million, 1.07 million, which was declared as savings as part of the fiscal consolidation. So I hope I've explained the detail on that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kenyon, and thank you very much to the department for the responses. Members, noting the amount of time that we have left, I will now offer one final round of questions. So please use the raise hand function to indicate if you have any further questions. I see firstly Member van der Westhuizen.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for those responses. May I just ask, there's a very interesting one, and that is the expenditure to date on machinery and equipment, which seems to be, far below 50%. And then on page 45, and I must say, I also find the leasing of motor vehicles a very interesting expense under capital payments. But there you say that in terms of the 31% of the budget that's been spent in the first 6 months, that you believe that almost 70% will now be spent in the second half of this financial year. Yet you spoke about vehicles being handed back to the government motor transport department. Yet we all know that with remote working and being able to give support via modern technology, via the internet, that travel can indeed be reduced significantly. So why do you foresee that the monthly payment, and I'm quoting, the monthly payment in terms of the government garage vehicles finance leases will be increasing so sharply? And then, Chair, I do note that an amount of more than 5 million rand has been earmarked for the modernization of the offices of the Provincial Treasury. Now, I would have thought that, in financially constrained conditions, the modernization of office furniture, etc., would be the one item that would be postponed, perhaps. even. Perhaps if you could just explain why that could not have been postponed. And then lastly, Chair, a year or two ago, we were told that this department requires highly specialized skills, and that it's not always easy for the department to fill vacancies because of those highly specialized skills and the fact that salary scales in terms of the Public Service Bargaining Council are fixed according to certain bands and certain salary levels. And then we were told, and I was quite excited about that the intern program, which already was cut back somewhat during COVID, which one could understand, that this intern budget would be increased, and that we would be growing our own wood, that we would be recruiting young people, and we would be retaining them. I'm concerned to now hear that, unfortunately, these interns will no longer spend 4 years with the department. And in the same breath, we were told that there are more and more people nearing retirement age, and that is why we had to, pay out a lot of leave. So I'm concerned about the replacement, or what you call the recruitment program, that the attraction of skilled young people may now suffer because of what we have just heard. And yet we then prioritize the modernization of officers. So perhaps if we could just get some clarity as to, what must we believe? Must we believe that it is still a challenge to attract staff, and that this young internship program was a good option to get young people to upskill during the period with the department? Or must we now believe that, unfortunately, that was not a very good investment of our taxpayers' money to take on interns and to give bursaries to people to become CAs and other highly skilled professional staff? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I recognize Member Nkondlo.
Am I audible, Chair?
Member, you are very soft again.
Am I? Okay. The IT tried to help me, so I went back to my headphones, so I will have to go back to my cell phone, I think, because I think it's not helping.
Okay, we'll just give you a minute. Please just indicate when you are ready. In the meantime, members, are there any further questions? This is the last round. Okay.
May I
So,
proceed?
yes, that's perfect. All right. Over to you, Member Nkondlo.
No, thanks, Chair. Chair, I think in the last round, I think I also want to raise concerns, particularly around the human resource approach represented by these adjustments, because if one looks at it from the issues raised by Member Andrikas, and I think I would need confirmation if I heard the acting HOD correctly, that in the initial structure, and I'm assuming that's my interpretation, they had 40 vacant posts, and they had to reduce them as part of this recruitment retention plan to the most important ones to 16. So I'm assuming, or that means from the 40 posts that would have been there, now posts have been cut and reduced into 16 vacancies that we are sitting with as this particular department. Hopefully they can clarify me if I'm misrepresenting what they are saying. And such actually means that the existing staff needs to pick up on the functions now of others. And I think this for me is a challenge, because already during the annual report times, one of the things that we had to deal with in terms of the section on staff is actually the issues of pressure onto staff, which may actually cause, a lack of productivity, towards staff. And I'm not sure how is the department consulting with staff on these issues, getting what are the views of staff of those that now has to take additional responsibilities given all the cuts that are being made. So I think for me that is actually a concern. Also with 29 staff that have left Provincial Treasury already, with the kind of specialization indeed that is required to keep this department's responsibility to itself, let alone to the government-wide other departments and entities. Having said that, Chair, I just want also to check with the department that, again, what are these legal fees that actually there is almost a 3.7 under goods and services, and on page 70, that there is additional provision of consultancy services related to 20th and 21st Amendment Bill and legal fees. What are these? Does this refers to the Gambling Board a bill that is actually being repealed, that we are dealing with as this committee, and what exactly is this amount of consultancy services that funds had to be made available for? My last one, Chair. I just want, given the time that you have already indicated, I just want to get once again a confirmation. If the CFO can just give me the total figure of the amount that has been reallocated through the environments to the what do you call this, to this retention reallocation to this revised recruitment plan. That's the right term I was looking for. So what is the total amount that has been reallocated across the programs in this vote towards the revised recruitment plan versus the COE budget that has been readjusted to make for what is termed as fiscal consolidation. So I just want to understand those two figures, because it seems my calculation and what the CFO was trying to explain, I think she lost me in translation because she spoke in the individual, because I was asking whether my calculations of the totals are actually correct. So I just wanted just to give me those total figures without getting into the detail of each, because such is provided in the book. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member. That concludes our final round of questions. I'll now hand over to the Minister and to the HOD.
Thanks very much, Chair, and to the members for that last round of questions. Let me just, so there were some issues around staffing and making sure that staff feel motivated, given the difficult circumstances and given that Treasury officials really do work above and beyond, and the absolute professionalism of this team is really remarkable. And in order to help staff remain motivated, the working environment is essential. And therefore, the Modernisation Light program to make the office working space nicer is something that I feel is very important. The price tag for the modernisation was much higher, and it has been cut substantially. So what was going to be a nice full refurbishment is now a small and more minor refurbishment of the floors of the Provincial Treasury. But I would like them to proceed with that, because it really will help to have a more modern working environment. The current office space is very old and really does need a bit of sprucing up. And the staff would also like that very much. And some very significant trade-offs have been made so that although we couldn't do it all because of budget cuts and fiscal consolidation, the most important parts that will help staff have a nice working environment will remain. And that's why that is still in this budget. But if you go back to what was initially budgeted, you'll see it is significantly reduced. And then if I could ask the team just to expand on the underspending in machinery and equipment, and whether we anticipate to speed up spending on that and why, and then the GG lease increases, and then the questions on the gambling consultants for the 20th and 21st. Those are the remaining questions. Thank you. HOT, could I hand over to you?
Yes, thank you, Minister. I think thank you because Minister hit the nail on its head there, because it's important that we do not de-link the modernization from the COE discussion. And I also just want to indicate that for COE, we would need a recurrent source of funding that will continue, because once you employ, you would need to ensure that you do have the funding to continue to pay until retirement or until such time that that post becomes vacant. And that's the one thing. And so when we were confronted with consolidation, we also had to look at what would work best. And if we are going to have fewer numbers in the system, then we need to do everything in our power to create an environment that would be much more conducive to get the output that is still required. So members would recall that we have previously in our quarterly report backs spoke to issues around our culture journey. So the modernization is part of the culture journey. It's part of our approach to ensure that when we look at how do we address the issues within the department to ensure that we still get maximum output, then it became important that we create an environment that will allow for that. For instance, our efforts to to drive a culture that firstly demonstrate our values through specific behaviors and greater leadership alignment. And secondly, improving our staff morale and workplace happiness. That is just one or two of the issues that we identified. And this is then within this context that we should place this modernization project. It is once off, and as Minister said, we have also scaled down in terms of what we could do within that space, and so there will be no recurrent as with your compensation stemming from this, but it will do a great deal in just the lifting the morale and just creating an inclusive workplace in terms of which to come to work in and to go the extra mile. It's not a requirement, but it helps a lot, especially in these difficult times that we're facing. If we still want to perform at the levels that we have been doing. So it was in that context. Then I think, Anna Marie, if you can come in terms of some of the detail, Member Nkondlo's question. There was also the issue around the leasing of motor vehicles, and then also what's happening with the machinery and equipment.
Great. Thank you very much, HOD, and thank you very much for the questions and the follow-up questions. Yes, a member with regards to the payments of capital assets, we've only spent 35%, and obviously we are the replacement of obsolete computer equipment was only done will only be done in the latter part of the financial year. I think we have made the payment now in October. And then with regards to the monthly payment for the GG vehicles, it is claimed via the Department via the GG, the government motor garage, and they were behind with the claiming of the expenditure. So yes, we will spend the entire amount for the financial year. Maybe just to also to indicate the claim from the government garage is it's twofold. The one is for the kilometers traveled, and that goes against goods and services. And then the lease is for the capital amount, and that goes via to the capital assets. And I think that is exactly the reason why we gave back some of the vehicles, because if you use the vehicle or not use the vehicle, we still need to pay the fixed tariff for that specific vehicles. So that is not dependent on if you utilize the vehicle or not. Yeah, so I think I just wanted to give some clarity on that. And then Member Nkondlo, just to indicate the reconciliation, you will see if you calculate all the shifts, so that is on page 39, 40 and 41, all of those shifts from COE in between the different programs and sub-programs on COE, plus then the R1 million that, plus the money that we shifted from the 1 million that we shifted from COE to households, you will get the amount of 2. To get the amount of, actually then it balances it out. And then if you get on the other adjustments, if you calculate per program, what we've indicated, the ICS or the condition of improvement of conditions of service. So for all of those programs, it's 12.751 million. If you calculate all the fiscal consolidation on the COE, then you get 21,451,000, and the difference is 8.7 million, and that's the 8.7 million on page 38 under other adjustments on compensation of employees. I hope that explains all the adjustments, and then the shifts and the adjustments under COE. Thanks.
Chair, through you, if I may.
Absolutely.
Okay, there was a question still on the consultancy, I think, and the gambling board, Shirley.
Thank you. Through Chair and Minister and members, the question related to the gambling board in respect of the additional consultancy fees is, as we move to the through the 20th and 21st, and in order to ensure additional capacity, given reduced capacity from losses of staff member, we have made additional provision and for consultancy services related to 20th and 21st to ensure that we are able to meet deadlines, and that's on page 14. In respect of the member Nkondlo's previous questions around the legal services, we have and are processing the question received from a member on the 1st of November and through the procedural officer of the Standing Committee on 14th of November, a written response. We are in final stages of verifying certain costs with legal services, as the engagement on any legal counsel is jointly with legal services of the province, and that is on final stages of verification and due to be processed shortly. So member, a written response will be sent through on these questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just to confirm, are those all the responses from the department?
Yes, Chair, I think we've covered them.
Okay, fantastic. Before we love and leave you, I just wanted to get a quick indication and see if there are any members online who, or members of the public rather, online who have any questions that they would like to pose. Okay, I see none. For the member Nkondlo, I recognize your hand.
Yes, Chair. Can I just get a guidance from you that my question on the gambling board, the legal fees, because this is presented as part of the budget adjustment that is in front of us now, is there something prohibiting the department to provide me the answers in this meeting and therefore being referred to a later date? Because that's a separate process that I've asked. I'm asking in context to this adjustment being presented to the committee as part of the budget adjustment. So I just wanted guidance there so that at least I understand, because the response is referring me to another process and not answering my question as this thing is in the book as we speak.
All right. We have passed questions from the members, and we have now moved on from members of the public. So if I can please request, and the department, if this is in order, for you to respond in writing to Member Nkondlo.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just to confirm that because any legal counsel is engaged jointly with legal services, we do appreciate the members' consideration. We do need to verify with legal services before, so that it is a joint and agreed response between Treasury and legal services, and confirmed by both before. And so it is in process in writing. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. So we'll allow that response in writing then. All right, with that, I would just like to briefly say again, thank you very much to the department, to the minister, to the HOD. Your leadership is something that I think we cannot take for granted. Given the financial cuts that we've seen, given the extreme pressure that our province is under, and the sterling work that is done through your leadership, we sincerely just recognize your hard work and thank you for it. I note that this is our last engagement with you, Treasury, this year. And so again, thank you. I hope you enjoy your festive period, that you manage to relax and come back with a new vigor and energy next year. I will now excuse you so that the committee can move on with our business. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, members. So we'll now move on to the consideration and adoption of the report. So this is in essence where I ask you whether or not you will support or not support the vote. So members, if I can please get that indication now. I recognize firstly Member van der Westhuizen.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that the committee support vote number 3. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. I recognize Member Seleko.
Chair, also second the proposal that we support vote number 3.
Thank you. And then I recognize Member Nkondlo.
Chair, already I'm sitting here with a question I had asked being deferred. Clearly, it would be impossible for me to support a vote where there is information that could not be provided, it would still be deferred. And a concern to me, Chair, of the consistency of the committee and your chairing, because when it suits you, Chair, you would be running a serious panic about the fact that in the AGOA process, you were not allowed, you had questions, you were not allowed. But already here, in the manner in which the matter is being presented, the time is made an issue. We can't raise questions as we want to. Matters are being deferred for members to answer on something that is in the book in relation to a different process. So I want to register those concerns from where I'm sitting about inconsistency, about issues that are of principle as they are presented, but when applied, it is found that, you know, there is a differentiation in how they get to be applied. So from where I'm sitting, I can't support a vote where I'm still sitting with information that is not answered. It's still going to be deferred, because only when I get that information from the department, which I don't know when, could I even have an opinion, complete opinion about this vote from where I'm sitting. Thank you very much. So I don't support the vote.
Member, your comment is noted. However, an attack on the chair is not accepted within this committee. I understand that you do not support the vote, and we will register that accordingly. But please, we are working together and we are trying to source that information for you accordingly. So with that, I would ask, excuse me, member, I'm speaking. I have not recognized you.
Yes,
I have
but
not recognized you. You will be muted.
Don't accuse me.
All right.
I am not
if I could please get an indication from the procedural officer on whether the document that we are considering can be flighted.
Chair, morning Chair, Member Brinkhuis.
Member Brinkhuis, you're recognized.
I also would like my vote to be noted that I'm not in support of this vote.
That is noted. Thank you, member. Ms. Adams, if I could just call on you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just making the adjustment quickly for Alderma's vote, and I will flight shortly.
All right, so we'll give it a moment, and once we're ready to flight, if you could indicate that, and then we can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Can you see the report?
Yes, I can see it. Thank you very much. I will now read it in, and then we can get an indication from members on whether to support. So, committee report of the Standing Committee on Finance, Economic Opportunities and Tourism on Vote 3, Provincial Treasury, in the schedule to the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill, B7 of 2023, dated 29 November 2023. The Standing Committee on Finance, Economic Opportunities and Tourism reports that it has concluded its deliberation on Vote 3, Provincial Treasury, in the schedule of the Western Cape Adjustments Appropriation Bill B7 of 23, referred to the committee in terms of Standing Rule 188, and that it supports the vote referred to it. In terms of Standing Rule 90, the African National Congress and Al-Jama'ah expressed their minority view to not support the vote. Members, if I can get an indication. I recognize firstly Member van der Westhuizen.
Chair, I propose that we adopt the report.
Thank you, Member. I recognize Member Seleko.
Second the proposal, Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, members, now that we have completed that business on the draft, I would like to move on to committee resolutions. Members, are there any resolutions? I see firstly Member Seleko, and then Member van der Westhuizen, and then Member Nkontlo. Member van der Westhuizen.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, I would like to get some more information regarding the internship program of the Provincial Treasury, perhaps in terms of the number of interns that are taken on, the number of bursaries allocated, and the number of interns that do find permanent employment within the term of their working for the Provincial Treasury Department. That would be the first one. The second one, Chair, is just in terms of the cut to the Provincial Gambling and Racing Board. We have always strived to make that board financially independent. And now it seems as if with their income growing, as if the allocation to them is being decreased. And perhaps you could just get a response from the Gambling Board as to how this decrease in their allocation would affect their work, especially the fact that I think the monitoring of places of gambling has become more and more important, and there is always the possibility of people illegally opening up gambling sites, and we need to act proactively and ensure that there is a high measure of compliance with the requirements set by the board. So if we could just get their response from their side. Unfortunately, they were not here today, obviously, to be able to indicate how they would be affected by this budget cut. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you. Member Nkondlo.
Thank you. Can I request further information on the following? One, the information that they said they will send to me about the detail of this consultancy services of 3.7 million in page 40. That's one. Number two, if they can send in writing the actual totals of the budget that is reallocated on environments, on a COE to the retention plan versus that one that is for fiscal consolidation, because I could not ask further follow-ups. So that's my second clarity that I'm seeking in that. And then the last one, Chairperson, is also just for the department to just indicate what is the number of posts that in the old structure, which they had to revise to the current, where now they had moved from 40 vacancies to the 16 vacancies. If they can just provide a detail about that information, that would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Noted. Thank you. I recognize Member van der Westhuizen again.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And then I would also like to propose that we as a committee undertake a walkabout of the offices of Provincial Treasury, stated as the third floor of 7 and 15 Wells Street, just to see for ourselves the current working conditions of the staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is something we can definitely look into in the following year. All right, members, with that, we have exhausted our resolutions, it appears. I think the only thing that I would add is just, again, to commend the officials for the hard and important work that they are doing, particularly amid the devastating budget cuts that we have seen, but thanking them for nonetheless doing their very best to keep the ship sailing. With that, members, meeting adjourned, and we'll see you a bit later for our next vote. Goodbye.